Okay, awesome. So yeah, really, really honored today to have Hashoshi here on my channel. It's really cool. And yeah, I think we're just going to talk broadly about crypto topics, especially for people that are new to the space.
Sure.
You have been around for many years, and you're a content creator for many years. So I think there's a lot you can share here. But first of all, thanks for coming on. Really honored. How's everything going?
Everything's going well. Thanks for having me. Excited to chat, and yeah, it's long overdue.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I have. I think we can just have a general conversation about things
Sure.
in the cryptoverse because a lot of people are new to the space. You know, they're a bit confused what NFTs are, what DeFi is, and all those kind of things. So I don't know. Maybe you can just share a little bit about yourself, how you kind of like enter the space, and also yeah, how you then kind of like ended up, you know, being kind of like this content creator and figure in crypto, and what your biggest milestone achievements were along the way.
Yeah, sure. So, general story goes, I stumbled upon this space completely by accident. On Stumble Upon, it's like a website you used to go on, you click, and it would show you some random thing from the internet. And I was sitting in a class. This was probably, I think it was almost 11 years ago now. I was sitting in a class, not paying attention. That's pretty classic me. And the Bitcoin white paper pops up. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. Cool. So I'm reading it. And I'm a huge reader. So this is like what I used to do. I would just read all day. Not a book, it would be online. Read the Bitcoin white paper. And I had no idea at the time what I wanted to do with my life. I was interested in computer science. That's what my dad did. I was interested in economics. I was interested in sociology, psychology, game theory, all these different things. And I could never pick one. This white paper integrated all those things into one multidisciplinary world. And that from that day, I just kept reading, kept learning as much as I possibly could. I was lurking on the forums. I was into trading cards. So I kind of got into the Bitcoin world even more because people were trading Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, all this stuff using that. And the rest was history. I just kept up with it. And then by the time I was kind of picking what I wanted to do in like my undergraduate time, I had, Ethereum towards the end of that career, Ethereum was coming out.
Mm.
And I just picked up Solidity when it came into the scene, kept learning, tinkering, messing up constantly, and found a way to parlay that interest in Ethereum into a full-time gig. So I started doing Solidity and web application development around dApps full time. And yeah, I've stuck with it ever since then and just kept working in the space. In 2017, I created this channel as a means to just explain some of these topics to family and friends and, you know, people I was working with or clients, whatever that might be. And totally against my nature because I'm not like I've always been kind of an introverted person. So it was not easy for me to do. Other people started watching them and I kept creating and here we are. So I mean, that's kind of really, that's the story.
Yeah, that's interesting, and I think actually a lot of people that are also I would also say I'm more of an introvert than an
Mhm.
extrovert, and I never thought that I would, you know, become a YouTuber on crypto. This is
Yeah.
actually crazy, but I think it's also cool, this journey that you're just kind of like documenting your own journey, your own learnings,
Hmm.
and everything that you did wrong to help people to not get wrecked in the crypto space, right? Because it's a
Yeah.
wild space, lots of noise left and right. Everybody's trying to shill you the latest coin, or everybody's trying to tell you like what you should buy, what is a scam, what is good, what is bad. um,
Yeah.
and so what would be your kind of like top learnings over this journey? I mean, you're in the industry for a long time.
Hmm.
For everybody that is new now and that is kind of like a bit overwhelmed by all that noise.
Yeah. There's a lot of things. I mean, I was lucky because when I was figuring this stuff out, there weren't a lot of options, right? Like early on, like it was just Bitcoin. And that was the only thing. And there was no exchange infrastructure either. So you can't FOMO in even if you wanted to. There's just no way to do it. And there wasn't as much hype back then. Bitcoin wasn't worth much, and quite frankly, I didn't realize how big it was going to be back then. I thought it was cool, but I thought only nerds are going to care about this. No one's going to care about this outside of the small community. I was wrong, obviously, and I'm happy I was wrong. Um, a lot of people didn't know what they had found back then. But now there's tens of thousands of coins, new ones every day, and there's hype from communities that want you to buy the token, because when you buy the token, they have a better chance of making money, right? So I think the three biggest rules to live by be: one, you should verify everything. Don't go on YouTube and my channel or Cryptocito's channel or anyone's channel. Do not go on that channel, hear about a coin, and then buy it. If you do that, you have very high likelihood of getting yourself in trouble. Like, you should always go and research and understand the problem the project solves, the tokenomics to an extent. That's kind of negotiable because sometimes tokenomics can look bad, and actually there's stuff behind the scenes that makes it a little easier to deal with, right? Like investment schedules, whatever. Separate topic. And you should really understand what you're investing in, because if you do that, you're very likely to skip the emotional part where you're like, I'm going to get rich, which is what you hear when you see the video, which is not necessarily true, by the way. And once you get past that emotional pitfall, then you're making better investment decisions. Like, that's the first thing. Always verifying, always researching, always learning before you put money on the line. And then the other two things is, like, pick a space, pick a spot. If you're interested in interoperability, or you're interested in gaming, you're interested in DeFi or layer ones, learn about that and get really good at that. And when you make risky plays in the places that you understand really, really well. It gives you higher likelihood of being successful. People try and spread the love all around where they don't fully grasp what's going on in these different spaces. Like, NFTs are a great example of that. People that know nothing about NFTs are FOMOing into NFTs. That's how you get yourself in trouble, because you don't fully understand yet how the mechanics of that market work and what makes a good NFT, what makes a good community NFT. So that's the biggest piece of advice, other than doing your own research. And then the last thing is having a plan. When you invest in something, don't just be like, okay, I'm going to hold this till it goes to zero, or I'm going to hold this until I'm filthy stinking rich, right? Like, that is not a plan. You need to have a plan for getting money off the table, for diversifying from profits into other coins, or moving to stable coins and earning yield to save for taxes. Like, all these different things you need to think about, not after you've lost money or after you've made a bunch of money, but like before you do. Like, if this goes to zero, will I be okay? First question. Second question, if this goes up 100% and I get a nice, 2x, 4x, 10x, how am I going to take my principal off the table and then save that for taxes? Am I going to take it all off and diversify into smaller coins? Like, these are all things you need to think about. And I swear, like, these things are game changing. It's not going to make you 100% successful or guarantee gains, but it's going to hopefully save you from big time losses or making mistakes.
That's very, very true. And I think a lot of people are not following any of these steps. They're just chasing pumps. Literally, somebody sent me a message yesterday, when Algorand went up 45%, like, oh, should I buy Algorand? Like, bro, no, you don't buy when it's up 45%. You don't buy when it's up 100% in a day. You wait for it to dip. You find your entry. Like I say, you have a plan. The best thing is also to buy things as far away as possible from the all-time highs. And you just don't, like, I think it's all about emotional control, right? And that's not just crypto, it's investing in general, but especially in crypto, because it's so fast moving, 24/7, 365 days a year, right? That also plays a lot with our emotions. But one thing I really like about you is there's many things, but one thing precisely is that you're very open-minded to new trends. When there's a new project coming out, you're like, man, I want to learn about this, before I make my judgment, before I say, oh, this is a scam. And typically in crypto, you have a lot of people that yell before they use the products, right? They're yelling like, oh, this is a scam, it's a shitcoin and whatnot, especially if they've been around for as long as you have, right? It's a long time. Yeah. So what is your general ideological view on crypto? This whole idea of, this multi-chain future, interoperability and those kind of things. Because there's thousands of cryptocurrencies right now. So what do you think about this whole market in general?
Yeah, I mean, I think that right now in crypto, the whole culture is an allegory for human nature now, where tribalism has formed so voraciously and so quickly around people's favorite layer one, or sushi swap versus uniswap. And I think people forget that the whole ethos of the space is that there's not necessarily a single protocol or entity to rule them all, nor should there be. You have freedom of choice, as does everybody else. And if you really want mass adoption, the only way for mass adoption to actually happen is for us to not be a fragmented community. One group using it here, totally isolated from the other. One group using it here, totally isolated from the other. Like, I remember when the word borderless was actually relevant, right? Right now, it's not borderless because you have sometimes countries where they have a protocol that's very popular there that's totally closed off from everyone else. So now you just have, maybe you don't have country borders, but you've got network borders or network perimeter. That's not what we want. So I think interoperability, the multi-chain feature, is the only answer to the whole ethos of the space. And so anyone who says my blockchain is the best and everyone else's sucks and you're all scammers, and then also says they want mass adoption for decentralized tech, is missing something. That's just a logical fallacy. And so I am always trying to campaign against this idea of we need to be actively against each other in our counter investments, because there's plenty of room for everyone in this space. And we should be wanting all of these projects to try new things and to fail as often as possible so that we can have the best possible technology in the future. And you don't do that by being like, okay, we're done. Ethereum and Bitcoin were created. We're fine. No problem. No more needs to be built. Like, that to me doesn't make sense. And I'm very heavily invested by nature in Ethereum because that's where I started. And that hasn't stopped me from being invested heavily in Cardano, Fantom, Avalanche, all the interop projects like Polkadot and Cosmos and Icon. Like, all of these are competitors for Ethereum, but I want all of them, or as many of them as possible, to succeed, because that's what advances the ultimate peak goal, which is for mass adoption of decentralized technologies and opportunity for everybody. That's my philosophy, at least.
Yeah, I think that resonates a lot with me as well. And the way I view crypto is basically like the current internet, and you don't just have one internet site, one website. You have thousands of websites. You have different ways to enter those websites. And you don't only have just one social media website. There's actually a lot of social media applications, right? Even though, we don't really need Facebook, right? We actually just need one way to communicate. But people just choose to use this over that. They like the Instagram logo more than they like the whatever logo, right? So there's different ways, and in crypto it's the same thing, right? Somebody likes Charles Hoskinson's haircut more than Gavin Wood, right? So it's like, oh no, I hate Polkadot, I like Cardano. So it's also very, like I said, a representation of human nature in the end of the day. And we just love different flavors and versions of things. And I think also, to add to your point, I think it also makes sense sometimes to look at strong geographical regions, right? Like Korea is a big market, right? You mentioned Icon, they're pretty big in Korea. And if you see what's going on there and how advanced they are, you're like, okay, I should probably look into a couple of projects from Korea and just hedge my positions to, invest in one of these projects there. I think it's totally fair and reasonable. So yeah, I think that's a good philosophy. So what are some, because now you're super active in also a lot of DeFi things. So what are some of the ecosystems that you are mostly using and that you're mostly also talking about on your channel?
Yeah, I think Ethereum DeFi is difficult for a lot of people to get into if they're just starting in the crypto space. You need a lot of entry capital now to do it because of gas fees, which will change. People may not believe that, but that will change and that will get better. But there's lots of other options now. So we just recorded a video about Cosmos. There's a lot of good stuff in the Cosmos space. I haven't created as much content about Cosmos DeFi. I probably should, but you have that pretty well covered. I think that Avalanche is up and coming in this DeFi space with the bridge and some of the work that they're doing there. Fantom, there's a lot of DeFi going on there. Actually, that's pretty underrated, candidly. That's also kind of an early DeFi space. And I think that very soon you're going to see DeFi expanding in the Cardano world. And people can hate the idea if they hate Cardano, and that's totally fine. But if you look at the capital that's there and the active community, look at the percentage of those delegating. It's like 70 or 80% of ADA is delegated to a stake pool. Like, that's crazy participation. And so I feel like DeFi is going to be the same in that world as well. People are going to move delegation ADA or delegated ADA into these, constant product liquidity pools and, all these different ecosystems that start to flourish. So keep your eyes peeled there. Have an open mind. You might be surprised. So there's lots of places to go with low fees and with low barrier to entry to just, don't go risk the farm, but, get a little bit to go and download the wallet, keep your seed phrase safe, and give it a test. See if you like it or not. And if the user experience is good, great. I also do want to shout out Algorand, because the Myar exchange, which is sort of the core, I guess, foundation built DeFi composable base layer, is being built out. It's like an AMM. That's going to be pretty sweet. And there's a battle of yields going on. If you download the Myar app, which is their mobile wallet, you can sign up there. It's like a testnet, incentivized testnet kind of thing. Pretty fun if you want to test it out without risking anything.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, the thing nowadays is that there's a lot of layer ones, like Algorand, you mentioned, Cardano, Ethereum itself, Cosmos, even.
Yeah.
It's really, especially as a content creator, I think you have the same thing. It's like really hard to keep track of all these ecosystems in depth, right? But I also do my best to look and use all these other networks. I have like 6 RPCs on my MetaMask. I have 10 different wallets, natively from all these layer ones. And I think it makes sense to play around with that and also to look into some interesting depths in these ecosystems, because I feel like we're right now at a point where we see this emergence of DeFi applications on other ecosystems, and Ethereum could lose a lot of its market shares, like I said, because Ethereum 2 is still, I don't know, a year? Is it a year, half a year away? So it's still going to take time for the fees to go down on the mainnet. But yeah, so what is your kind of like sentiment right now? Obviously, everyone is really unsure where we're standing right now. And I think you've been around for a couple of cycles. So maybe you can talk about your kind of like thoughts right now on the sentiment in crypto. Where do we stand, and where do you see us going from here for the next couple of months?
Yeah, I mean, I still think we're going to have a new period of bullishness, probably one more before the end of the year, where we see all-time highs across different cryptocurrencies. When that happens, hard to say. The thing is that there's a lot of uncertainty around regulatory posture. There's a lot of uncertainty around economic stability around the world. And I think that's what's causing some of the fear that's happening right now. Movement in the US, in the UK, in other jurisdictions around the world where people aren't really sure what's going to happen. And so people who get into the crypto space, even with a lot of money, like there are people who are new to crypto, that have a lot of resources that come in looking to just kind of double their money, 10x their money, and get out. When they see regulatory concern, or they see even one piece of slightly negatively connotation oriented news, they dump. And that's what causes this cascading fear effect. People have been in the space a long time, for better or for worse, but I'm not saying this is healthy, but like I will see a 50% dump and I'm like, whatever, in stock, like that would be 5-alarm emergency. Like everyone would be panicking. To me, that's not the case, but we have to remember that there are a lot of people who come into this that aren't used to this space and aren't used to volatility and don't like it. And I don't like it either, but it's just a reality that we live in. So that's what I think we're up against, is the fickle get rich quick investor, which there are still plenty of, a regulatory uncertainty, economic uncertainty around the world. And that could affect when and if we end up getting another big, sort of what people think it's going to be is like that blow off the top before a bear market, which I kind of subscribe to as an idea that is probably likely based off of historical trend. You got one more big run up where you pretty much cap off this bullish cycle. But again, my predictions are no better and no worse than anyone else's predictions. It's as good as throwing darts at the wall with my eyes closed, because you really just don't know. There's so many variables. So take that for what it is.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of kind of like still threats. Regulatory is obviously one of the biggest ones. You see exchanges like Binance are kind of like, under pressure right now. USDT, the whole tether thing. Like there's a lot of things. And Coinbase, Brian Armstrong came up with this giant thread about, hey, the SEC doesn't allow us to offer this lending platform on our exchange, but others can do it. There's kind of like a lot of uncertainties there, and totally agree. People should really put wealth preservation before trying to get rich quick, because you don't want to lose, you don't want to end up all your life savings. And I still know, even though it's the dumbest thing you can do, people are selling their house, put all their life savings into crypto. Because maybe, yeah, sure, right now you might have an income that can, cover for your life expenses, but you never know what's going to happen. Crypto is wild, wild west, and it's a dangerous, dangerous thing to do. So
yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I hope we can do this more in the future, these collaborations here, and get your insights and views on the current market sentiments, some DeFi stuff that you're playing around with. I definitely encourage everyone to check out your channel, Hashoshi. I will also link it under this video here. Great stuff. And also what I like about you is you're very, very kind of like fundamental, and you're very real about things, and you're not hyping things up, and you're not talking about, oh my God, this is, my price target, and this is why. You're very fundamental and very genuinely well-researched content that you're providing. So I really appreciate that. And I'm seeing now, since I'm also in that content creation part, there's a lot of work behind. So really appreciate what you do. And yeah, if there's any final words that you want to share, then please do so.
I think the only thing would be, enjoy every minute of this. We're still early in a really impactful space that, despite the media, is very positive. And there are negatives, but this is going to have, and it is having, a positive impact on the world. So be proud of that. Have a plan. Take profits. Make sure that you're not FOMOing in and chasing pumps, and just enjoy it. Learn as much as you can. The more you learn, the better off you're going to be. That's the biggest thing.
Awesome. All right, man. Thanks for coming in, and thanks everybody for watching and listening. Really appreciate it, everyone. And yeah, see you next time.